Welcome back to another episode of Legacy, and today I'm going to be telling you guys another wonderful story of my life. Yes, it's like unlocking this new Snowstorm lore. I know you guys are like on the edge of your seat. I completely missed that. All right, do not bother that. Just like turn your monitor off. Just listen to me. All right. Anyway, so this story is going to be none other than the wrestling story, or at least the start of it. Because if I were to tell the whole wrestling saga, it'd be like the whole Star Wars saga in like 6 hours. I mean, it kind of is, like, when you think about it. Each episode's like 2 to 3 hours. You don't have the attention span for that. I'm sure I don't have the attention span for me telling you that story for that long. So I'm just gonna leave it to the beginning of my wrestling career. And also, you guys can also watch me stab children from the ages of 9 to 12, because that's like the average Minecraft player here on PvP Legacy. And so we start our journey, I guess you can say. Back when I was like 11, maybe 10, I'm not sure when it was, and I had no prior knowledge of wrestling, alright? And I like, the closest thing I had to wrestling, like anything that I knew, was probably the scene from Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire in it from like 2002. That's like the closest thing I had to any idea of what wrestling could have been like. All right, and let me tell you that wrestling was nothing like that scene. But I think it was my mother that actually introduced the sport to me, because she's like, all right, you know, you've been doing basketball, you've been doing baseball for like almost your whole life, ever since you were like 6 or 7. All right, I think I was doing baseball for longer than that, but don't you crit spam me for not. Dude, why do they do this every time? You wanna, if you wanna act crit, sure, why not? All right, I end up going to around my school, and I was asking like all my friend group. I had lots of friends back in 6th grade that no longer talk to me. Sad. I know it's kind of weird. A Minecraft YouTuber have friends. Yeah. But I was saying, hey, you doing wrestling? And I got either one of 3 answers. A, no, because I'm busy. Like, I don't care for sports. Or C, like, I don't want to do it because my mother told me that wrestling was dangerous. Like, you could break a bone, which it can be true, but it's really not that dangerous if you know what you're doing. Like, if you don't listen to your coaches, somebody's gonna get hurt. All right, if you're like making stuff up on the go, somebody's gonna get hurt. So that's just how important it is to listen to all your coaches. I'll say out of the way. I go around talking to my friends, and I stumble upon these 2 girls. These girls, I have been friends with for quite a bit of time. All right, maybe like ever since like 3rd grade. I'm not sure, but and they're like, yeah, I'm doing wrestling, and I'm like, cool, cool, cool. And they were rather small, but they're like average. I shouldn't say small, because average, I was above average. And so when I think small, like for a 6th grader, and I'm above average, I'm saying like small. But I was pretty tall, but it was very lanky. And let me tell you that being lanky can either be the best thing or the worst thing for you when it comes to wrestling. Day number 1 was kind of just like a meet and greet, you know, with the coaches and whatnot. Or, you know, it's kind of just like, kind of like a easy day. I'm not sure if easy is the correct term to use, but it's kind of like a misconception with wrestling, you know, because wrestling is not easy. But it's just a day that we kind of just talked, and we went over the syllabus, which I absolutely hate. If you listen to any of my stories, I hate syllabus, which is just a saying, oh, your child is responsible for this, and I'm like, I don't really want to read it. So I hand it to my mom, and she's like, you know, it says right in here on the paper that you are responsible for injury and even death. And I'm like, what? Death? I don't want to die. The second day was kind of just the same. You know, we turn in your syllabus. You know, when you have like a math test or something, or like homework, you're supposed to turn it in the next day. That's kind of what it was. And like, we didn't really actually start doing anything until the next week. Like, we should have a bunch of running. Like, the first week, we just ran the mile. Second week arrives, and we actually start learning the moves. And I had no prior knowledge, and I was the part of the youngest age group, because I think the highest was eighth grade there. So yeah, so the 8th graders, I thought that they were like the coolest guys on earth. Like, they had the mustaches, they had like literally everything. Some of them even had a beard. All right, and they were like genuinely huge. Like, I could not even comprehend how cool they looked. And with them on the wrestling team, like, how could we lose? These guys are like the ginormous kids. And then I realized that everybody, even all the other 8th graders on every other school, is ginormous. Remember those 2 girls I brought up earlier? Yes, I'm bringing them up again because this is a very important detail. This is why you should listen to your coaches, because one of the girls, they were wrestling like roughhousing. This was not like wrestling. This is like just roughhousing. I mean, the most roughhousing I did in 6th grade was just like pig pen or pig stack. I'm not sure. We used to call it pig pen because it just made sense like that way. It was where we would all stack up on top of each other, and we did that just for fun, and coaches did not like that, so we stopped. Anyway, but these girls, they were doing the wrong type of move, and I just hear screaming, and I hear a thud behind me on the mat. And let me tell you that this girl's elbow was not okay. All right, and her partner was just in tears because she had injured another human being, which is quite common in the sports world. But this injury was like nothing I'd ever seen before. This is like the first actual injury I've ever seen. And I've seen lots more injuries to come, and I think that one is still the worst one. Like, I've seen a full-on knee injury sometimes, but I think that one was the worst one ever to occur in front of me. But and I remember it so clear, and the coaches had everyone like get a step off the mat or just like move to the side or something, because I think the paramedics had to come, or maybe her mother came to pick her up. I'm not certain. I think the paramedics came, and I saw the flashing lights and they took her away. Sad, and guess what? Her mother did not let her do wrestling ever again. Kind of goes on, and since I was a 6th grader, I was really sad that I don't know why, but I was like very sad that I could not compete. Like, the coaches were like, all right, 6th graders, you're not allowed to compete because, you know, you're a liability, you're very young, and we don't want to, like, we don't want your mom coming into our office and ripping our hair off our skulls because you aren't going to be like 6'4" anymore. You're going to be like 6'3". You know, you may have like tweaked your growth plate a little bit. And then a couple weeks come by, and we kind of go over the basic moves, you know, kind of like, you know, the basic takedown. For those of you who don't know what a takedown is, it's essentially what the name suggests. It's just a takedown. You know, you're going to take down your opponent. And this is the most simplest of takedowns because it literally consisted of like a couple movements where you just lower your hips. And let me tell you, the lower your hips are in a wrestling match, you're going to win. I never got to see my first match that year because the season had ended early. But much like a story, one must end before another story can begin. Much like how a Skyrim playthrough should be before you get bored of that one and make a completely new playthrough. I will leave more amazing stories here on the right and left of your screen, kind of giving you the luxury of having just to click on one of them. Click on one of them. Doesn't matter which one. I don't care which one you start with. They're both very amazing stories. And also, if you want to see part 2 on this story right here, the Wrestling Saga, then help us get this video to 30 likes. And here comes your favorite part, I know. We win these!